All righty. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Thank you for taking the time to attend the ESSA Discretionary Grant Monitoring and Preparation webinar. I'm Teri Manning, and I am the ESSA Compliance Manager. I am also the primary point of contact for this monitoring process. I'm also joined by Vanessa Waters and Hannah Gribble, who are here to assist with any grant-specific questions that you may have. All right, so today we're going to walk through some key aspects of the monitoring process. We're going to provide some guidance and answer any questions you may have. So please feel free to use the chat to share your thoughts or ask questions. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. We'll start with a disclaimer. The department prohibits the use of AI tools like Otter in state-hosted meetings due to concerns about data security and regulation. These meetings often involve protected information that must be safeguarded. Please respect this policy as tools like these may be blocked during meetings. All right, so here's a quick overview of the agenda. We are going to go over the monitoring overview, accessing the monitoring instrument. We're going to have an instrument walkthrough, and then we're going to have reminders and technical assistance. All right, so the department's commitment is to foster open dialogue to reduce non-compliance findings through pre-monitoring training and support, to deliver comprehensive compliance reviews for those discretionary grants, to highlight areas of excellence, to offer individualized technical assistance, and mainly to empower LEAs and schools to strengthen compliance and implement effective programs. So the purpose of the ESSA discretionary grant monitoring process is to ensure appropriate use of federal funds, effective spending to meet grant purposes, compliance with grant terms, document measurement of performance goals, and identify needs for better technical assistance. The ARP Act and other regulations require the department to provide technical assistance to LEAs and oversee federal grant implementation. All right, so for this specific ESSA discretionary grant monitoring process, any LEAs who receive funding through ARP Homeless 1.0, ARP Homeless 2.0, ARP Homeless System Navigator, or Title III Part A Immigrant Subgrant, you will be required to participate in this monitoring. All right, so this is just an overview section of the monitoring instrument. We will take a look at the ePlan version further into the presentation. So you do have the introduction and overview monitoring process page. That's pretty much self-explanatory, intro of the monitoring and an overview of that process. You have your assurances that is required for you to acknowledge that all of the responses entered in the instrument accurately reflect your program. Right, so there is one page for all ARP homeless, and there's one page for Title III Immigrant Subgrant. Please ensure that all responses on that Title III Immigrant page specifically relate to students being served by the Immigrant Subgrant. All right, so just an overview of the ESSA discretionary grant monitoring details. There is LEA level submissions only. There's no school level or conversation components. Some of you may be familiar with that with level 3 or level 2, but this process is kind of similar, more similar to level 1. So the instrument opens February the 5th. No uploads are required. They are optional. You will have some short answer, agree, disagree questions, and then you will also have open response questions. You want to ensure that you are providing responses for the current school year. Again, a little different from previous RBM monitorings. This particular monitoring, we are asking for your current school year responses. So LEAs can select NA to disable the entire page or a section for grants that are not applicable to you. All right, so we want to make sure that when we do select NA, that you do not mistakenly disable a page or a section that you should indeed be completing an instrument for or questions for. If that happens and you mistakenly NA a page or a section, we will return that instrument to you to complete that section. All right, so the instrument is due March 5th, and your monitoring results will be available by April 7th. There is no exit interview or meeting for this monitoring process. All right, accessing the discretionary grant monitoring instrument. All right, so you will need to access ePlan to gain access to this particular instrument. Users with LEA ESSA Discretionary Grant Director access can log into ePlan and navigate to the monitoring instruments, 2025 ESSA Discretionary Grant Monitoring. You would need to click draft started on the sections page to begin your pre-work or to begin answering your questions. Grant directors for monitor grants will be automatically assigned the FY25 LEA ESSA Discretionary Grant Director role. So no further action is needed. So if you had that role last year, you were automatically assigned that role for FY25. If there are users who were not automatically assigned that role, you can request the role via the ePlan LEA user access form. Right. If you need assistance with that, please feel free to either drop that question in the chat or you can send me an email and I'll be sure to get that form to you. All right. Again, uploading evidence is not required, but LEAs may upload documents for additional information. Do not upload personally identifiable information. Use ID numbers instead. So if you would like to upload evidence, that is an option for you. The monitoring instrument requires you to respond to short questions or statements using a drop-down menu. You will select agree, disagree, or NA. Justifications are required only for disagree responses, but this does not necessarily indicate non-compliance. You are required to provide a response if you disagree. No justification is needed for agree, yes, or NA responses. The instrument also contains open response questions. Please provide detailed answers in the open text box, reading the question or statement thoroughly and addressing all parts of each question. You are free to use formatting tools like bold or bullets to highlight key points. And you can also upload additional documents on the related documents page if needed. All right, we're going to get into the instrument walkthrough. So what does this actually look like in ePlan? So once you're in ePlan, you want to navigate to the ESSA Discretionary Grant Monitoring instrument by logging in and then select Monitoring and then Monitoring Instruments. You want to ensure that you are selecting the accurate year, which is 2025, the accurate fiscal year, and then you can select your ESSA Discretionary Grant Monitoring. You will click Draft Started at the top of the Sections page to begin working in the instrument. You would then select the ESSA Discretionary Grant Monitoring page to begin responding to the questions and prompts for that particular page. As I stated, ARP Homeless 1.0, 2.0 Systems Navigator is all on one page. You have the option to NA that entire page or go through and NA sections that are not applicable to your LEA. Right, so here's just a view of the monitoring instrument, what we just talked about. You want to complete both grant pages or select NA to submit the instrument. So if you receive Title III Immigrant Subgrant, but you do not receive any ARP Homeless funds, you will need to access that page to NA at the top to select NA to disable the page so that you can fully submit the instrument. If you don't do that, you will not be able to submit the instrument. And the same goes for any recipients of ARP Homeless. Maybe you do not receive Title III Immigrant Subgrant funds, and that's fine. You would just need to ensure that you access that page, the Title III Subgrant page, and disable it before you can fully submit that instrument. Okay, so you must provide a response to all practice questions and statements. You have a drop-down options for agree, disagree, or NA. As we stated, if you disagree, you will be required to enter a short explanation. I want to encourage you to please choose the accurate response so that the department can support you where you are. Right? So if it's not truly an agree response, and it truly is disagree, then select disagree and provide an explanation for why you disagree. All right, open responses, narratives are required. You must answer all questions and prompts in this instrument. Answer the question completely, but you do not need to provide more than what is asked. As I stated, your uploads are optional. You may upload documents to provide that additional information. If you decide to upload documents, please ensure that you clearly label the document and remember to never upload personally identifiable information. All right, so now we're getting into submitting the instrument. After completing all areas, you want to use the validation column on the sections page to confirm all items were completed. The LEA ESSA Discretionary Grant Director, which is probably everyone on this call today, you must mark the status as reviewed. And the Director of Schools must mark it as LEA Authorized Representative Approved to submit. Again, I want to stress this because a lot of times we have the ESSA Discretionary Grant Monitoring Director to submit the instrument, and you think, okay, that's it, there are no more steps. But if your LEA, your Director of Schools, does not click the final button that states LEA Authorized Representative Approved, then your instrument is not fully submitted. So we're going to go through quickly just a monitoring status workflow overview, right? So first step, the LEA opens the instrument. That's likely going to be everyone on this call, the ESSA Discretionary Grant Director, that monitoring director. So you will open the instrument, you're going to change the status to draft started, and you're going to begin your responses. The ESSA Discretionary Grant Director will clear validation errors and change the status to draft completed. The Director of Schools approves submission and confirms accuracy by changing the status to LEA Authorized Representative Approved. The instrument is now fully submitted. Once you fully submit the instrument, the department will review the responses and write those monitoring results. The LEA will receive notification in ePlan of the monitoring results. You will then select Results Review Started, and the LEA acknowledges receipt of monitoring results. If there happen to be findings, you will receive action steps on resolving those findings. Once you complete all action steps and the items are marked as yes approved, the monitoring instrument will be closed, and that will finalize the monitoring process. Again, if you have findings, you must complete all action steps. It will then be marked yes approved, and we will then close the monitoring instrument. You will also be notified in ePlan of this process. So once that instrument closes, you'll be notified. All right, we have some reminders and technical assistance. Okay. This is simply an overview of everything we discussed. Instrument opens today, February 5th. It is due March 5th. We will review your information. We will finalize those results. Your results will be shared via ePlan by April 7th. You will have an opportunity to ask questions about the monitoring results if it's needed, if you desire. We will then change the status to closed, and we will also provide any technical assistance based on any findings of non-compliance and provide that support. Remember, LEA level submissions only, no school level or conversation components. No uploads are required. You want to ensure that you provide those responses for the current year. You have the ability to select NA to disable the entire page or section for grants, but please check and verify that you are disabling the accurate pages. And we also will offer office hours. All right, so office hour sessions will be offered from 1 to 2 p.m. Central Time. That's going to be February the 19th, the 26th, and March 5th. While these are some of our scheduled office hours, I want to emphasize that we are available for any technical assistance, any questions that you may have, any support you may need outside of these office hours. You will have the opportunity to ask any clarifying questions. We're happy to go through the monitoring instrument with you during the office hours, or if you want to attend because you have specific questions related to those grants, then you are welcome to join. I will also be joined by Vanessa and Hannah as well. Okay, so these are your point of contacts for technical assistance and support. I'll give you a couple seconds in case you want to write down some information or take a photo. All right, so I want to say thank you again for attending. If you have any questions, you can use this time to come off of mute and ask your questions, or you can enter those questions in the chat. I'm going to ask that you take a moment to please share your feedback regarding this webinar. The QR code is on the screen. If you could take a moment and access that evaluation form and complete it, I would greatly appreciate it. All right. Everyone plays a role in prevention. If you suspect fraud, waste, or abuse of federal funds, please contact the state comptroller using the number or website on the screen. If you do not have any additional questions, you are free to go. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. And yes, this webinar will be available in the TDOE resources very soon.